As you can see in the backdrop, there's a lot of leaves changing, which means a lot of people are cutting wood because it's getting colder here in northeastern Ohio. So I figured it'd be a great time to make a chainsaw video. So what I'm going to do is show you how to change the blade on a Stihl MS170 or the chain. Basically how to take them off and put them back on, the chain and the blade. Because this is something you're going to have to do when you're out in the woods, especially if you cut a lot of firewood. And it's basically the same on each Stihl chainsaw. The thing you're going to see is these two bolts. And you're probably going to think that's how you change it, and that is how you change it. It's real simple to do. All you need is one of these Stihl tightening tools. It comes with the chainsaw. If you don't have one, if you didn't get one with the chainsaw or lost it, you can always go to the Stihl dealership and buy one of them. They're not that expensive and they're very handy because it's hard to find a wrench that size. And these fit perfectly on both of these bolts. So as you can tell, I took that off pretty easily. It's not real hard to get that off ever. So just unscrew those two bolts, take this cover off, and basically that's all you have to do to get the chainsaw bar off. Now getting the bar on is a little more complicated. Before I put the bar on though, I always like cleaning it out. It always gets a lot of dirt in here, at least a little bit. It's kind of wet to take a air compressor to it. I'm not going to take an air compressor to it today, but sometimes you can do that. But it just always helps to get all the dirt out of here, because there sometimes can be a lot of plaque and dirt buildup in sawdust and that sort of thing. And also on this thing, as you can see, there's also a lot of sawdust and dirt gets in here because it's a confined area that the dirt, it's hard to escape and it's hard to clean. So it's always a good idea to clean this out after you take your bar off. Alright, well I think that's good for cleaning that off. So in order to put the bar on, it is, like I said, a little more complicated, but it's still pretty easy. The only different thing is you have to utilize this screw here. Basically this tightens and untightens your chainsaw blade, and it moves your bar in and out. So when you put your chain on, it's tight or it's very loose depending upon how you want it. And sometimes in order to get the bar on snug, you have to move it back and forth. So I'm going to do that now. And this will go on here. Like that, you just line it up. Now putting the chain on is also a little more complicated than taking it off, because you have to make sure it's going the right way. And basically the way to know if it's going the right way, if these little raker shavers right here are facing towards the bottom, because the chainsaw goes in this direction to cut the wood, you want to make sure the sharp part is facing this way, so it'd be going that way because the chainsaw will move this way when it's cutting. When I put the chain on the bar, I put it on first to make sure I have everything right, make sure I have it facing the right direction. And basically to get the chain on, it just takes a little bit of maneuvering. And I got the chain and bar on, and the chain's on right. So now you just put these bolts back on. Just be careful not to tighten them down all the way. Just, you know, where they're finger tight, because you can still tighten the blade after you put these down, just as long as they're only finger tight. So now that I have these bolts on finger tight, you want to check to make sure the blade's on tight enough. It looks like it could be a little more tight. And generally how I test how tight the chain is on the bar is I pull up on the chain, and if these little aligners here on this chain come to the tip of that bar right there, it's perfect. If they come a little bit above when I pull as hard as I can on the chain, it's a little too loose. So right now it's a little too loose. So what you have to do is you have to use this screw right in the middle to tighten the chain. After you get the chain as tight as you have to get it, basically what you do is you tighten these bolts down all the way, because you're going to want to test it after you get these tightened down. You don't want to test it when they're not tightened down all the way, or else the bar and the chain is going to fall off. So you want to make sure you have these bolts nice and tight on this cover here, so this chain stays on the bar. Okay, so that one's good. And so is that one. So it's ready to test to make sure everything works like it should. I'd say the chain is tightened pretty good on that bar. A lot of times after you rev them up, they'll loosen the chain up and you'll have to retighten it. But for now, I think it's good. Just make sure you do demonstrate before you cut the wood, because sometimes I've had it a few times where my chain isn't tight enough, and it really helps to cut wood with a tight chain. Just not too tight, or else your chain isn't going to move at all. So just make sure you follow those steps, and you'll be able to change a bar in chain anytime that you have to in the woods.